Hi, you're listening to Behind the Bib podcast with Lisa Watkins. Real talk for every runner. Hello, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Bib. I am your host, Lisa Watkins, and it has been a whirlwind this last week. But I wanted to hop up here and record a quick episode for you guys. It has been my commitment to come up here. It's like upstairs where I record. It's been my commitment to come up here to give an episode every Friday. And this is we are on episode number 8. And you know what I've actually found out? Is that most podcasts actually quit recording by episode 10. So I'm really hoping that I get to that episode 10, that this podcast is helpful to you. And if it is, give me a shout out below or send me a rating on whatever platform that you listen to. That helps me get in front of more runners and more listeners like you that enjoy this content. Either way, I enjoy making it because this is one of the things that I love talking about. And it's my theory that whenever you meet somebody new for the first time and you get into a discussion or something like that, within the first 3 minutes, they will give you a hint, a little nugget, something that will tell you what they truly care about. And if you pay attention in those first 3 minutes, every runner will bring it up. It will be, oh yeah, I totally did this long run there. Or, oh yeah, no, I'm not drinking tonight because I've got a race this weekend. Or, oh yeah, I've got an early run. My long run's tomorrow morning. Or it will come up within that first 3 minutes if they truly care about something, whether it's running, whether it's gardening, whether it's reading, whether it's their dogs or their jobs. They will bring up what is most important in their life within those first 3 minutes. Test me on that. Go out and talk to somebody new and see if I'm lying. Tell me I'm a liar. All right. That said, I did not have a race this past weekend because, like I said, I was out of town traveling for work and I just now got back. So no race recap. But instead of a race recap, what I wanted to give you was maybe it's your first race coming up, whether it's your first 5K, your first 10K, your first marathon. I wanted to give you the top 5 things that I think you can do to prepare for race day, for your first race day, right? All right, so buckle up. Episode 8 is coming up where we are going to talk about 5 things that you can do that I wish I knew before my first race day. And like I said, I always bring this podcast in from my perspective, right? That's the only perspective that I can really, that I can really speak from, right? Is the non-elite perspective. Back of the packer here. I'm proud about it. I think there's lots of us that we should take up space for that, for those of us in the back. All right. I also want to give a shout out to Suzanne Swift and Fleet Feet Huntsville. We are running the Run the Cove half marathon this weekend. I'm not sure if registration is still open, but you can certainly try. This should be one of the most beautiful half marathons that Huntsville has to offer. So I'm looking forward to pacing that with AJ Stark. Can't wait to go out there with you this Saturday, Mr. Stark, and pace the 3:30 half marathon. All right, so let's get started. Episode 8, 5 things I wish I knew before my first race. How about let's count this down? I think I like that idea better. Let's count it down, kind of like a throwback to David Letterman. On my travel this week, I was watching David Letterman, and our old outtakes of David Letterman's countdown is like number 10. He always did 10 things, whatever it is. I don't have 10 things for you. I have 5 things. So this should be a quick episode. But how about we do that? How about let's count them down? Okay. So number 5, the finish line is magic, no matter your time. For all intents and purposes, we're going to pretend that you're listening to this, that it is your first 5K that you've ever done in your whole entire life. And your goal was this race. Your goal was to run a 5K for the first time. All right. So coming up at number 5, the finish line is magic, no matter what your time. All right, your first 5K, I don't know that you're going to come in under 20 minutes. You might not come in under 30 minutes. You might not come in under 40 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's your first 5K, and that finish line is magical. I love the 5Ks where you can actually see the finish line off in the distance a little bit. And just coming into that 5K with people cheering you on, it is the best feeling in the world. Your body knows that you've accomplished something. Your mind knows that you've accomplished something. But most of all, your spirit knows that you've accomplished something, right? So, number 5 is that the finish line is magic, no matter your time. In fact, I would recommend for your first 5K, unless you're really, really set on a time, I wouldn't worry about the time at all. Just focus on the race, on enjoying it, on looking at the course, on being present in the run, how your body feels, how the crowd feels, how the race course feels, like being grateful to be out there, right? Okay, number 5, finish line is magic no matter what your time. Forget about that time. Just go out and have a great time. You will have years to focus on your times and trying to get faster and doing things like that. That's all fine and great. It's your first one. You only get one first race. So make sure that you're present and that you're enjoying it. Okay? All right. Number 4, fuel and hydration matter more than you think. Okay, so usually coming into a hot race, I always fuel and hydrate before the race, first of all, and I hydrate the day before. So if you want to, like if you're coming into a hot race, the day before, I usually pull in like an extra Gatorade or an electrolyte drink of some kind the day before my race. All right. And then I make sure that I'm chugging water the day before, not just before the race. It's too late. If you wait until right before the race, it's too late. And then you're going to have to pee 14 million times. So I would not recommend doing it right before the race. When you need to hydrate, it's actually days before the race. Make sure that you're drinking enough water, not just enough water, a lot of water so that you're hydrating. Make sure that the week before you're actually focusing on your nutrition. I love to make these big kale salads. I know people give me hell about this, but I actually love my kale salads. The first of the week, I make this big kale salad, and I split it up of the week. And I tell you what, and I put all kinds of good things in there. And I 1000% can tell on the weeks that I do not eat my salad because I just don't feel as good on the weekend. It might be psychosomatic, yeah, sure, but either way, I feel better. So either way, it works. Whether or not it's due to the kale or due to my mind thinking that the kale is doing something. So either way, it works. So number 4, fuel and hydration matter more than you think. Don't ignore it, but don't go down any crazy paths either. Any crazy paths either. Make sure that you're fueling with some good protein, some good simple carbs the day before, 2 days before actually. And then the day before your race, keep your dinner something very, very mild and boring. Don't do anything new. And this is not the night to say, oh, I think a burger and fries might be good the day before a race. Nope, don't do that. Do what you've been doing the whole time during training. My favorite is just plain old chicken and white rice. And that's my favorite meal. And usually, if you're out of town, if you have traveled out of town for a race, almost every Mexican restaurant can get you chicken and rice, right? Super easy. All right, so number 4, fuel and hydration matter more than you think. Don't screw it up. That's a lot of pressure on you, right? Like, don't screw it up. Well, you could really screw it up, but you only get one first race. So just don't do anything out of the ordinary. I love just plain chicken and rice the night before a race. That's what makes me feel the best the next day. And remember to be hydrating days before the race, not just the morning of the race, right? This takes days to do. All right. Number 3. Race nerves, the day of nerves, totally normal. Don't think that because it's your first race, you're the only one that's going to be nervous. It is, you're going to get out there and then it might be somebody's 500th, 5K. Boy, that would be a lot of 5Ks, wouldn't it? It might be somebody's 100th 5K. It might be somebody's 10th, and it might be your first. But everyone has race nerves. You'll see them. You'll see people like dancing to get to the porta pot, because a lot of people have that like nervous pee energy. I don't know what it's called, but it's like where you have to go you got to go to the bathroom really bad. But when you go to the bathroom, it's just like a little bit, and that's because of the nerves. You're just nervous. You'll see folks out there trying to stay warm, or they're hopping left and right. Or my personal favorite is the dancing, like you're bebopping to the music that's out there, usually from a DJ, or if they're playing music over over big speakers or something like that. Totally normal. Everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is feeling it. And I would caution away from trying not to feel that energy, because that's part of it. That excitement, that everybody's out there and feeling this jazzed energy, and it's just a whole vibe, right? So don't try to not feel that. Lean into it. Lean into that nervous energy, and because everybody else around you is feeling it as well, right? It's that excitement. And hold on to that, because it's really kind of great. In the whole week, I don't know if you feel that a whole bunch during your week. I know I don't. I eat, live, and breathe in spreadsheets and PowerPoints. And so that Saturday morning race tunes and the nervous vibe and all that stuff, it is like primo for me, because it's just a great feeling. It's a great endorphin rush, everything. So lean into that, and it's totally normal while you're doing it. All right. Number 2, and this is a good one. And I kind of, I went back and forth on if number 2 should be number 1, or if number 1 should be number 2. But I finally decided and said number 2 is number 2. And that is, walk breaks are not cheating. And you'll hear me pound this, I'll be on my soapbox about this continuously throughout this whole podcast, right? All runners walk at some point. I shouldn't say all runners. Most runners walk at some point. They may not walk during a 5K. They may not walk during a 10K. And some runners, I have like ultra marathoner friends, they don't walk. Like in their marathons, no walk. They might walk through an aid station or something like that. Totally fine. If that's your jam, keep jamming on. But the rest of us mere mortals who are at the back, or even mid-packers, we all take walk breaks, y'all. It's fine. We are not out here qualifying for the Olympic marathon trials. That is not us. Take a walk break. Bring your heart rate back down. Get out there and have fun, right? You've got to, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. You need to, if this is not fun, this is not your jam, go find another jam. Because you need to be having fun while you're doing that. Trust me, I do. And that doesn't mean I don't try my personal best. I don't give my personal best effort. I absolutely do give my personal best effort. But what I don't worry about is if there's a massive hill, I'm like, yo, I am walking that hill and I'll run down the other side. And often we will still be doing our walk-run intervals. And a lot of times on 5Ks, we may do a run 3 minutes, walk 30 seconds type deal, or run 3 minutes, walk a minute type deal, where we run at a pretty good clip, at least for us, for 3 minutes, and then we walk for 30 seconds. It just helps me mentally to schedule my walks. Because I know that they're coming up. And I know that there's a lot of different schools of thought on this, but it's what works for me. And from what I can tell, everybody that I've talked to about it kind of works for them too. So, you just do you and figure out what works for you. But my message to you is take the walk break if you need it, right? If you feel like the breath is just not coming, that your heart rate is just way too high, that it's, if you're not enjoying yourself, it's fine. Take a walk break. It will be okay. We are not qualifying for the marathon, for the Olympics. It's going to be all right. Just walk for a second. It'll be all right. All right. And number 1, the 5 things I wish I knew before my first race. Number 1 thing. Do not go out like a bat out of hell. Let me tell you how many races I have actually done this on, more than I can count. And I looked, and what's funny is that when your body feels like that endorphin rush and that whole energy from the crowd, you don't even know you're doing it. But your body 100% knows that you're doing it, because if you've been running at one pace for the first 2 or 3 miles, and then you look down at your watch and you're like 2 minutes faster than your normal pace, you have gone out like a bat out of hell. Probably should dial it back a little bit, because you are more than likely not going to be able to sustain that pace if you have not yet been able to sustain that pace. So be realistic. So my number one thing that I wish I knew before my first 5K was do not go out and too fast. It is so easy to let that crowd pull you into a pace faster than what you are normally used to. And hopefully by this time, so hopefully you haven't just shown up to your first race just like, hey, I think I'm going to go run a 5K this weekend, and then just show up and try to do it. Well, I guess there are some people that could do that. Most people are not going to do that. They're going to go through a training plan, right? They're going to say, hey, they have a target goal race. They're going to spend 6 to 8 weeks training for that race. They're going to have an understanding of what paces they're going to complete that race at. And then they show up for the race, and then they execute the plan that they have been training to. What I wish I knew was how easy it is to let that crowd pull you, let the excitement of the crowd excite you, and let your feet move faster than they have ever moved before, just because of the excitement of it all. And then about 2 miles in, maybe before that, maybe after that, you will be like, oh my God, what have I done? Because I'm completely crashing and I have a mile left to go. So my number one thing that I wish I knew before my first 5K was slow down and pace yourself. That way you can avoid that huge crash that happens in the middle or toward the end of the race. And here's the thing. We spend time training for these races for a reason. Could you go out and walk 3 miles if you absolutely had to? Yes. But what are you going to feel like after the race? Could you go out and do a half marathon without training for it? Probably that as well. But also, are you going to be able to still do everything after the race? Are you going to be able to feel good after the race? That's one of the things that you really need to focus on is it's not just completing the distance. That's part of it, right? But it's how good are you going to feel after completing that distance? And that's the reason why we train. And the longer the distance that you're going to be training for, if it's a 10K, a 5K, 10K, 10 miler, half marathon, a full marathon, then your training plan is probably going to be longer. For a 5K race, 6 weeks. 4 weeks to a 5K is not unreasonable. 6 weeks is about right for a 5K. And then if you've done several 5Ks, you might want to level up into your 10K. So that first one's free. That's kind of how that first one is how we get you. You get there on race day, and then you're like all this excitement, and everybody's happy. Like most of these people at races, at least like where I'm at in the pack, people are happy to be doing this, right? So you're surrounding yourself by happy people that are out there, and we're just running. And then you finish the race surrounded by even happier people, because not only did they just complete their goal distance, they're totally high and stoked on all these endorphins that are flooding their system at the same time. So it's a pretty crazy, wild ride, and it's super fun. Okay. So that's it. Those are my top 5 things that I wish I knew before my race. So to recap, the number 5 is the finish line is magic, no matter what your pace. As long as you had fun, you got out there and you completed the distance. Hell, even if you didn't complete the distance, but most likely if you completed the distance, right? The finish line is magic, no matter what the pace for your first race. Just get out there and enjoy it. Followed by number 4, fuel and hydration are your friend. Pay attention to it for a few days before the race. If you're waiting until right before the race to start fueling or start your nutrition, you've missed an opportunity to really feel your best on race morning, right? It starts for days beforehand. Number 3, race day nerves are normal. Lean into it. Let it just soak it all in. Everybody out there is nervous too. It's going to be a thing. It's fine. We're all feeling it. We'll feel it together. Don't worry. We'll feel much better on the other side of the finish line. Number 2. Did I say that one was number 2 or number 3? That was number 3. That the race day nerves thing are normal. That was number 3. I hope I said number 3. Anyway, number 2. Walk breaks are not cheating. There are some gatekeepers out here in this community that are like, well, did you walk or did you run? No, I ran. And I had a few choice words in my head when I just said that, and you probably could see it, but I didn't say it because I don't want to have to check that little box when I publish this podcast. This contains explicit content. I don't want to check the box, at least not yet. Okay, so number 2, walk breaks are not cheating. Take a walk break. Walk through the aid stations. Walk whenever you feel like it. We're just out here having fun, you guys. Like I said before, we're not out there training for the marathon time trials, okay? Or at least I'm not. And that's what I do. Walk breaks are fine. They're normal. And then number 1 thing is pace yourself. Don't go out like a bat out of hell, because you will absolutely tank during the middle of your race, and you will not feel your best at the end of it. You will feel like a truck hit you and ran over you and put it in reverse and ran over you again. That's what you will feel like. That's not my jam. I really don't like to feel like that. And so I try really hard to hold myself back. My aim is always those negative splits. Sometimes I do get all like jazzed up by the crowd, and then the crowd will pull me along into a pace that I am not able to sustain. And then I'll look down at my watch and be like, oh, yeah, I need to pull that back. All right, that is it. Those are the top 5 things that I wish I knew before my first race. Okay, with that, coming up this weekend is the Run the Cove in Hampton Cove. So this weekend is the Run the Cove in Hampton Cove over there. The start line is at the start of the Greenway, and you run the Greenway all the way down to Hayes, and then through Hayes, and then you cross over the old 431, I think it is, and into the Hampton Cove neighborhood, and then you run along the lake around there. I will be running that this weekend. I'll be pacing the 3:30 pace group back there. It was me and Mr. AJ back there, and hopefully some of you will come out and join us if you've never done a half marathon and you've been training for one, but you're unsure about the time. This is sure a perfect time to get a half marathon in the books, because it has a very generous time cutoff. Okay, with that, this is Behind the Bib, and I am your host, Lisa Watkins, and this is where we have real talk for every runner. All right, we will see you guys next time. Y'all take care. See you later.
You've been listening to Behind the Bib with your host, Lisa Watkins. Real talk for every runner.